Brendan O'Neill is editor of Spiked Online and joins us right now. Brendan, I'm sure you were listening to the conversation we had with Matt Hancock. I asked him which will come first, the vaccine being rolled out to the whole population for COVID or Donald Trump conceded the US election. He declined to answer with much hilarity. But I wonder what you think in answer to that question.
Oh, God knows. I mean, Trump does need to make a move now, doesn't he? I mean, it's getting a bit ridiculous. I think one of the problems for Republicans in the US is that they're going to end up as the American version of Remoaners and just stay put and moan constantly about having the election stolen from them. I think it's such a bad look. I think we'll all be cured from COVID and the world will be back to normal before Trump stops complaining about the election having been stolen.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I do wonder how long it's going to take. But then, as you say, we've still got people in England doing that. Let's touch on that because yesterday, I thought genuinely, I thought I'd entered a time machine and the clock had been turned back 4 years where Sir John Major, former Conservative Prime Minister, gave a speech and talking, doing down Britain on the most extraordinary basis. He described Brexit as the biggest, the worst foreign policy decision of his lifetime. Again, wasn't a foreign policy decision. It was a democratic decision. It wasn't made by the government. It was made by us, the people. But he given the timing of the Brexit negotiations and of course that Biden's election and concern over getting trade deal with the EU and with the US right now, he said these words: "Complacency and nostalgia are the route to national decline. We are no longer a great power. We will never be so again. In a world of nearly 8 billion people, well under 1% are British, we are a top second-rank power." It's extraordinary for a British Prime Minister to talk about his former British Prime Minister to talk about his country like that.
It is extraordinary. I mean, on one level, it's extraordinary and shocking that he would do that. On another level, that's what we've come to expect from these obsessive Remoaners. You know, these people just won't stop going on and on about the vote for Brexit. And, you know, I'm actually sick of seeing John Major and Tony Blair on TV or on the radio going on and on about how terrible Brexit was.
As if we didn't already know they thought that.
You know, everyone knows what they think. They've made it perfectly clear. And the point is this: 17.4 million people voted for Brexit. So as you say, it's not a foreign policy decision made in the Foreign Office. It's a democratic decision made by the people. And that's what Major and people like Blair cannot handle, the fact that the people chose something that they don't like. Well, they have to suck it up because that's democracy.
Well, yeah, indeed. And again, I suppose there's something Donald Trump's going to have to learn as well. But there are an awful lot of parallels, aren't there, with Donald Trump not accepting the election? Criticism, largely, I'd say, from the left and the Remainers about it's outrageous Donald Trump not accepting the American election result when they spent 4 years trying to undermine the 2016 referendum. And, of course, many Democrats in America saying that they didn't accept the result of Donald Trump being elected in 2016. You reap what you sow, don't you?
The hypocrisy going around at the moment is just breathtaking. I mean, all these kind of liberals in the UK and also radical leftists, let's not forget they supported a second referendum, which would have meant voiding 17.4 million votes and throwing them in the bin. All these people are now looking at America and saying, listen, Trump, every vote counts. You have to take democracy seriously. These people must think we were born yesterday if we're going to fall for this idea that they have suddenly become super supporters of democracy. The truth of the matter is, Remoaners actually did something worse than what Donald Trump is doing, because at least Trump is only saying, I think there was fraud. What the Remoaners did, and are still doing to a certain extent, they said, look, we know 17.4 million people voted for this, but they were stupid, they were wrong, they were racist, and we're going to cancel their vote. So for them now to pontificate about America, I think takes such an extraordinary amount of brass neck.
It really won't. That's not something we haven't seen too much of in the past. And what do you make of Donald Trump? Now, you and I, we are not fans of Donald Trump. I know I get a lot of people on social media saying, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. No, my dislike and hatred, frankly, of Donald Trump is not based on derangement. It's based on the facts and what he said and what he's done throughout his entire life. And he was even worse in the presidency than I thought he would be back in 2016. That said, I still think he doesn't get credit for some of the things he did do. I mean, some of the Middle East peace stuff with Israel and UAE and everything. I think actually, you know, if Obama had done that, they'd have been parades in the street about it. The media would have gone on about it suddenly for days instead of just casually showing a press conference and then moving on. So I mean, there's stuff that he did do well, and partly because he's Donald Trump, he was able to do it. But Let's talk about what happens now, because he's lost the election. With all the best will in the world for the Trump supporters, you can have as many court cases you want. That on the 20th of January, it is going to be Joe Biden who is going to be taking the oath of office in the inauguration. Do you think that at some point before then, hopefully a long way before then, Donald Trump is going to accept defeat, is going to agree to vacate the White House? I mean, people are joking about, pay-per-view, having the Secret Service dragging him out of the Oval Office. Do you think we could be in that sort of territory?
I mean, it remains to be seen. I hope he does come to his senses. I mean, the way I'm similar to you in relation to Trump. I'm very critical of Trump and some of the things he's done. And I support some of the other things he's done. What I dislike is Trump derangement syndrome and this notion that's been going around for 4 years that he's literally Hitler. He's the worst thing that's ever happened and he's destroyed the American Republic. The way I have always understood Trump is that he was a bit of a necessary corrective to the out-of-touch establishment politics represented by people like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. And the fact that Trump got 71 million votes this time around, which nobody was expecting, which is the second highest electoral bloc in American history after the vote for Biden, that's extraordinary. And it shows that lots of people still want to shake politics up. I think that my issue now with Trump and his supporters saying we're staying put, the election was a fraud, is that they will end up alienating those millions of people who are looking for someone who's a bit more populist and a bit more democratic. The question for me is what happens to Trumpism after Trump? And I think that's the interesting question.
And this is the thing, isn't it? I have to say, I've been saying for a long time, I think there are shy Trump voters. And certainly, I wasn't brave enough to say it on air that I thought, Trump would win. But genuinely, I think if I'd really been forced to put money on it, I would probably said, I think Trump would do it over Biden. That a lot of people like me who would have been a default Democratic voter would have gone. I struggle to vote for Biden, but I think I'd really have struggled to vote for Donald Trump for obvious reasons. But this is the thing. This was not the big blue wave everyone was talking about. This was not a massive sort of denunciation of what Trumpism was. We talk about the media. Well, the media's going on about this end of division. No, the divisions were there before 2016, just as they were with Brexit in the UK. The divisions are there right now. The election of a new president, he's got 4 million more votes, but, out of 250 million people. The reality is, those divisions still there. There hasn't been a big repudiation of Trumpism because he's got more votes than he did in 2016. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are going to have to get to grips with that, aren't they?
They are. They're going to have to get to grips with the fact that there are millions and tens of millions of people who voted for the man that the cultural elite told them not to vote for, who we've been told is pure evil, who we've been told is incredibly destructive. They still went for him. They still would rather take a risk on him rather than vote for the establishment. That should really send shockwaves through the American establishment. And the thing is, American politics needs to get a grip. This point about division coming to an end, I completely disagree with that, because the division and the hatred was there before Trump, and a lot of it was coming from the establishment to ordinary people. They looked upon them as uneducated rednecks clinging to their Bibles and their guns, as Barack Obama said, a basket of deplorables, as Hillary Clinton said. It's so striking to me. It's only a culture war when ordinary people push back against the establishment, apparently. It's never a culture war when the establishment is fuming against ordinary people for being stupid. So the truth is, those divisions were there. All that Trump did was make them clearer. And the question is there any other politician who can make them clearer again and take them in a more positive direction?
Indeed. Just final question, because I'm running into the news, but I'd love to know, we're asking on Twitter this morning, what is it that you most look forward to doing again in the event that we do get this vaccine and that it's rolled out and say sometime spring, who knows, we get back to proper, real, normal life? What is it you're most looking forward to?
I was thinking about this yesterday. I want to go to a rock concert, which is really bizarre because I haven't been to a rock concert for about 5 years, but I have this sudden urge to be in a mosh pit.
You'd like the option of being able to do it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much indeed. Well, you can go with Tom Slater because your colleague, he was saying that a bit earlier as well. I'll come with you too. 9:32 is the time. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Lots more to come.